So I recorded a podcast yesterday and we're doing it again today. Why? For whatever reason, it didn't upload because it is new software. The software needs internet. And so you might see that as, oh shit, that sucks. It does. But this is all about mindset. We're going to look at it. And this isn't the first time it's happened. It's a learning opportunity. It's also a chance that I just got to practice it the first time. There's probably going to be a lot of different podcasts that I'm going to have to do the same way anyway. And I actually felt like I was in the flow yesterday. That's what I it kind of sucked. Sometimes when you're in the flow of things, it feels so fluid, so natural. But we're going to give it a go again today. I got feedback for camera angles. So we are trying our best. Now, it's the art of giving freely. And so the irony of this is, in this podcast, I actually talk about repetitions and how when you do free stuff, you're going to do the same repetition over and over again. So the fact that I have to record this podcast, that's okay. It's free, right? It's just cost my time. My time is valuable, but I'm going to talk about how giving away your time for free will actually pay off in the long term. How have I built a business behind giving away free stuff, strategic generation, building mastery, building authority, building trust, building community, building up myself, building up my skills? All of that has accumulated to where I am right now. So we live in a world where we're obsessed about these immediate returns. There's an idea of giving freely, and it's your time, your knowledge, your expertise. It can seem counterintuitive. I have a couple friends, my buddy Eric, when I told him there's a project I'm working on, and I'm not using numbers. I just well, maybe like $500 is what it should cost. And he's like, what? I'm doing a similar thing. It's going to cost like $5,000. I'm like, I don't know how many people are going to be able to pay $5,000. I might get 10 people. You might get one person. We make the same amount. We put the same amount of time in. And yeah, maybe you're looking for that high ticket, but you got to provide $5,000 worth of value then. And that's fine if you do. For me, even giving $500 worth of value, I got to aim for actually $800-900 worth of value, because not only are they paying time, they're paying with the opportunity cost, the resources, and it's about being strategic. And so it's either you think short-term or long-term. And he does a decent amount of stuff on TikTok and Instagram with videos, but I think that's most of what he does for free. I do a ton of stuff for free, and again, I'm playing the long game. I've met other trainers who they wouldn't take a job because the job asked them to shadow for a couple hours for free. And they're like, well, my time's worth more than free. It's like, yeah, of course. But the network that you could get and the learning opportunity and the apprenticeship is going to be worth it. And there's a lot of stuff that you have to do for free. So I'm going to talk about all the stuff I do for free, how it's actually paid dividends, and how you yourself should look at doing stuff for free. But it's not always for free. There is these costs. And again, mastering the art of strategic generosity, right? It puts myself in a position of influence, authority, and success, right? It's not charity, it's calculated apprenticeship. And most things in life are going to be some level of an apprenticeship to begin with. I'm playing the long game. So I'm going to use this little analogy, and there's a game I love to play. There's a couple games actually, but they all base around its strategy. And there's a couple different strategies. Is it a short-term, medium, long-term strategy? And so the game I'm going to use as an analogy, it's like chess in a way where there's a lot of strategy thinking ahead, but the game is going to be more closely related to Settlers of Catan, if you're familiar with that. Risk, it's kind of like two of those. You make a base and you gather resources, and based off of your base, you can train infantry, archers, cavalry, you can train real villagers. That's basically most of it. There's other aspects of it too. Then your villagers go gather resources to then train more villagers, infantry, cavalry, archers. You can also build buildings, towers, castles, etc. You're trying to defend yourself from the opponent. So that's where it's like Risk, and Settlers, where you're settling, you build, you have a base, they have a base, you're trying to attack. And in the end, one of the main strategies is you disrupt their resource supply chain and you try to protect yours. And so Sometimes in the short term, it's called a rush. You rush to build a quick army so you can go attack and disrupt their supply chain. Even though you're not building up a supply chain, you destroy theirs more than what yours could have been built up to. The other strategy is you try to defend and you build up your supply chain so good that you can then afford a bigger army later on. I know, sounds super nerdy, right? In that game, you have to think in real time. And again, you have to allocate resources. You have to think 3-5 steps ahead. You have to also predict what the other person's going to do. It's the allocating resources that's really what I want to get after here. So I'm going to allocate resources to villagers to gather more resources, to allocate those resources to build more villagers. And that's a compounding interest. And that's an opportunity cost because now I can't build an army to go attack him. Or I build an army and I go attack him, but now I haven't been able to use those resources to put into the economy per se. So are you playing the short game or the long game? Those are really the two things that you're getting after. And I find playing games like that makes you really think real quick, again, how are you going to problem solve those sort of things? I personally like to play the long game, both in that game and in life. Why? Well, if you can survive the short-term blitz, the short-term rush, the long game's always going to win. And that's very important in fitness. I have a lot of clients who've been with me for over a year, let alone like 3, 4, 5 years, and they're the rock stone of my business. I don't know what I would do without them. Now, the good news is I have like 8 or 9 who have been with me for a decent amount of time. Currently, I'm actually going to do the math here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have like 70% of my clients have been with me for over a year at least. 70%. And that's the long-term game, especially when it comes to fitness. How did I get all of those people in the long term? Because I gave out the short-term free stuff. Rather than trying to sell them the short-term stuff, and they might not always sign back, you give them lots of free stuff, and then they're more likely to come back. And I'm always trying to provide more value, value, value. This podcast is a good example of something free that I do to play the long game. This podcast makes $0. You guys actually should also like, comment, share the podcast because that helps it grow, but it makes $0. The point of this podcast is not to monetize and make money. Again, I'm going to use my buddy Eric, for example. I think he has a podcast. I barely see him post anything, and he wanted to monetize his podcast right away. I'm 260 episodes in, probably close to 100 total hours spending recording, let alone then not a ton of editing, but then you have to post it and you have to promote it a little bit. So it's well over 100 hours of just recording alone. And that adds up. That's built up that mastery. At no point have I made money off of it. Now, what else does it show? It shows commitment. It shows discipline. It shows omnipresence. It shows authority. It shows trust. It just shows value because I'm trying to share all of the stuff I know. So when COVID-19 hit, I had maybe 2 in-person clients, but then that fell off. I was working at F45. I was teaching at Conestoga College, and the world shifted real quick where I was out of a job, out of work for a couple months, and then I got one client. It was my mom's friend. Even that, I do a free assessment and 1 free session so they get a feel for what it is. And then I saw an opportunity. I was like, you know what? I need to do more mobility. I've been learning mobility. This is good for my hip. I'm like 1 year and a half post hip surgery. Let me just do my mobility, but I'm going to put it on Instagram Live, and anyone who wants to join can join. Gyms are closed. I should just do something for that. It wasn't with the intention to get people. It was just some way to give back. And very few people joined. However, someone who never joined, like 4 or 5 months later, hey, Nick, me and my husband are looking to do mobility. Our trainer is on maternity leave. Can you work with us? And it was someone who I knew from F45. I'm like, yeah, sure, of course. So they've still been with me since then. That's one of those clients that's a rock stone. Not only that, they gave me a client referral within like 6 months, another client referral within a year. And then one of the clients that they gave me also gave me a referral to a client, which also gave me a referral to a client. You can see where I'm going with this. And so that's built up that network. Between all of that, just from that one thing, it was 20 minutes over the course of 4 months, 5 months of doing live mobility sessions for free. And that's like it's not a ton of time. 20 minutes, it's like 6-7 hours, 6-7, over the course of like that 4-month period. It's not a lot. And that resulted in close to just under $100,000 between all of those clients' lifetime value. I did the math earlier. It's not quite 100, but like it's pretty close. And that's a rough estimation. And so the point here is it was 6 hours to get close to $100,000. Now, it doesn't always work like that. And you still have to put in the time with them and you have to still keep them. It's still a lot of work. But that's how you make a business. That's how you gather attention. That's how you gather a network. That's how you gather people. And so I just gave a ton of value, right? Most of my clients were not strangers that just randomly followed me and asked for training. In fact, it was people I encountered in real life or people who referred other people. Those are one of the two. They see my work ethic. They see my knowledge. They see my authenticity, right? It's the omnipresence of seeing me online over and over and over again to the point that they associate fitness and online training with Nicfoti. And that's all it is, right? And so that term omnipresence, it's not about just shouting out to the void, but it's that you're everywhere. God is omnipresent. That's what it means, right? You need to create this web of connection, both on and offline, that reinforces your authority, your value, and the authenticity that holds it all together. Now, this repetition of doing it over and over and over again, it's a teaching tool for mastery. Again, just like recording this podcast over and over and over again, talking about the same topics over and over and over again, doing free stuff over and over and over again, it's a way for me to sharpen my knife, sharpen my tools, right? It's sharing knowledge for sure, but it's acting as if it's refining my skills, right? Every time I explain a concept, even if I've done it a million times, whether it's making reels, showing the same exercises, podcasts, mobility classes, I'm sharpening my understanding. When you can teach something, your competence goes up from it, right? And your confidence. Whenever I'm training newer people, either with it's at teaching CPR or at Temple Fitness training the trainers, when I'm showing and demoing and going through that stuff, they're like, wow, how is it so easy for you? It wasn't 7 years ago when I needed to learn this stuff and I just did it over and over and over again. And this is where this long form podcast, I get a chance to expand on these tools. One day, it'd be really cool if I was a professor, lecturer, guest speaker, whatever it ends up being. I definitely think I can handle public speaking way better than most people because I've been doing basically public speaking in form of teaching and or fitness instructing, and now I have the podcast to complement it. And because I did so much teaching and fitness instructing in front of big groups, the podcast is a natural transition. It's that level of skill stacking that I've talked about as well. What's really cool with this podcast is I'm not getting paid to do it, so I can explore any idea and have unlimited creativity, and I can dive into whatever I want to dive into. This is going to help my understanding of these positions, but also just give me an authority on the field. On top of that, whenever I need to explain these ideas to my clients one-on-one, again, I've put in the reputation so I seem like that master. That's also why I can charge the big bucks, because I've done the reputation, the repetitiveness in the free world. And that's why if somebody wants to bring me in to do a mobility class for their office, I've done this so much before, even if it was for free, I can charge $100 and give $200 worth of value. That's no problem to me. And that's where it's that repetition. It's the mother of mastery, right? Teaching in various forms, short-term, long-term, like short form, podcast is long form. I'm building up my skills, creating a library of value. And so now when I have podcasts, I can always refer people back to them. Hey, you should listen to this. Hey, you should listen to that. Hey, when you do your cardio, pick a podcast, pick a topic. Am I going to talk about nutrition? I'm going to talk about my fitness philosophy. Do you want to learn a little bit more about me? And this library becomes a testament to my experience and a magnet for opportunity. And again, it's embracing the long game. Just like I mentioned before, the short term, yeah, I'm not making the money by doing the free stuff. I have made enough money, or I can make enough money via cash flow from my clients and some of the other little small jobs that I do, that I can survive and focus on the long term. It's an investment. Yeah, I could put money into the S&P 500 and save for retirement that way, sure. Or I can build up my skills where I'm now $150, $200 an hour. I would love it if I was that point, right? 100 is pretty much my max for in-person stuff. But if I become a good enough trainer with a good enough network, by all means, that would be a really cool goal. And that's going to make me more money than, again, working a job at 40 bucks an hour, which is a great wage, and just putting that money into the S&P 500. Right? It's a culture that gratifies or glorifies the instant gratification, right? The concept of that apprenticeship is overlooked. Now, we have apprenticeships when it comes to trades jobs, and that's important. Obviously, you're getting paid and learning at the same time. Now, you're not getting paid the same amount as a master, and I do think that that's great for skills. Guess what? Most of what I do is skills. Yes, I have the knowledge, but because of stuff like ChatGPT, knowledge is not scarce anymore. Having skills is going to be scarce. Having mastery is going to be scarce. Having some level of creativity is going to be scarce. And what I'm doing is a way to plant the seeds for all of that, right? And again, learning how to deliver, it doesn't have to be much, but like something that's low cost, no cost, that's just repetitive, and it gives you an opportunity to learn, experiment, and build up your reputation, right? So view every free or low cost offer. So even working at a place like F45, which now it's Temple for me, it's not like I was making tons of money. I was making enough money, but it was a great apprenticeship. Why? What if I want to open a gym? What if I end up training trainers? It's a great network also with tons of people who I've gotten a decent amount of clients from working with those people, let alone also them word of mouth to get me clients, right? And the immediate reward is small because it's a little bit of money, or non-existent if it's free. But the long-term result is immense. Again, that client who reached out to me, who I was doing mobility for, that was someone at F45 that I built a great connection with. And I was working at F45 at probably, at the time, was a decent rate. But looking back, it's like, okay, yeah, now if I was getting that paid rate, it's pretty low, but it's an opportunity. And a lot of people always think about the short term, right? And this is that hidden benefit of generosity. It's the networking, it's the feedback, it's the patience. When you offer someone something for free, you're creating opportunities. Now, the other aspect is you have to make that free offer great because they're paying with their opportunity costs. Like, again, I mentioned before, when you're a villager, you're either going to gather resources to then make more villagers or gather resources to then make an army. If you just make an army, but you don't use the army, it's in game theory, it's wasted opportunity. You may as well be making villagers to make more resources and think of the long term. It's kind of like having money in your bank account sitting gathering dust, and it's not even in a savings account making at least some interest on it, right? It's a resource that you're not allocating. And so I try to do some decent challenges to offer value. Walking challenge, food challenge, mobility classes, all at very low barrier to entry so I can get a broad range of people. This expands my network, and it has potential for referrals, potential for opportunities, potential for them to join in. I've gotten a couple clients as well through these challenges on top of that, right? These free offers provide you with something more valuable than money. It's also providing you feedback. So then you can, again, sharpen your tools. What do people want? What am I good at? What am I struggling at? Do I need this more practice? So then that way, when you do get an opportunity to make the big bucks, you've already sharpened your tool. And this feedback loop of gathering information is going to accelerate your growth. When these larger opportunities arise, you're ready for it. And again, the strategic use of free and low cost offers. Not all free offers are going to be created equal. So again, you do need to provide value to your audience that's at least worth their time. If it's a half hour, well, if they're making 50 bucks an hour and you take up half hour of their time, they're essentially losing 25 bucks. So you have to make it worth more than that. And that's important to me, right? Again, they're paying you with the attention. That's why a podcast, the greatest thing you can pay me back with is, again, your attention. And that's why I need your help also to gather other people. That's more valuable than me right now because I do think the stuff I'm putting out there is useful. It's not produced as good as the other podcasts because, again, I don't have the resources just yet, but if it grows big enough, then I know I can. That's also why, again, even investing in some software and the webcam, okay, this is something that I can take a bit more serious. And this is a funnel, in all honesty. Now, again, I'm not expecting anybody who's listening to become a client. If you do want to, amazing, but it's a funnel. Maybe you know somebody who could benefit from working with a trainer, and that's that funnel. Or if it, again, becomes big enough, it's just a cool form of entertainment, and it's a cool way for me to, again, hone in and master my skills. Really doesn't take that much time. It's 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 20 minutes per podcast. And if I can commit to that every day, that's a very, very low investment that hopefully can pay dividends in the long term, right? And so it also gives you a bit of a taste of what I'm like. Ha ha ha. You see the value, you're more likely to then invest into the higher ticket sales. Now, you should always provide immediate value to your audience, but it's also then a stepping stone towards like the larger goals. And by all means, if anybody listening to this needs help, just reach out to me. I'm not busy enough that I can't answer DMs, or give you some voice notes, give you some tips, put you in the right direction. And the ultimate goal is mastery and authority. Every free class, every podcast episode, every low-cost challenge is a step towards the path to mastery. By embracing this apprenticeship mindset, right, you're not just building a business, you're building yourself. You're becoming a master of your craft, an authority in your field, a magnet for opportunities. So you're living these things. You understand that mastery is not a destination, but it's a journey. And it requires learning, teaching, and giving. It's not wanting these opportunities to come to you with a large amount of money that you can make right away. Rather, you're creating your own opportunities in the long term through your actions and knowing that the profits are in the future. Now, mastery is the ultimate goal, right? And every act of strategic generosity brings you closer to that goal, right? By giving freely, you not only build up your reputation, but you also transform yourself into the person you need to be to achieve your dreams. All right, so that's pretty much it. If you do like this, amazing. Please like, comment, share, support how you see fit. Give me feedback. I appreciate anybody who does take the time to listen. And again, feedback goes a long, long way. Other than that, until next time, guys, and hopefully this one actually records properly this time.